Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me today for another Resource Hub video. Today I'm going to speak to you about AI overviews. AI overviews I think are really topical at the minute. There seems to be a lot of information released nearly every day, and I think it can feel a bit overwhelming and a bit hard to keep up with sometimes. So I just wanted to do a nice easy introduction to AI overviews, what they are and how they impact or could potentially impact your website traffic, and some things that you can do in order to optimize the content on your websites in order to put it through in AI overviews as well. So we'll get started with and look at what are AI overviews. So AI overviews are a search engine feature from Google that uses generative AI to answer the searcher's query, in addition to providing links to websites that support or corroborate the answer that AI gives. And you can see from my screenshot, it sits at the very top of the search results page, which is really interesting. It's definitely changed the dynamic of a search results page. Previously, we would have had, ads and then organic listings, potentially some shopping campaigns depending on what you searched for. So it's definitely changed the anatomy a bit. So it'll be interesting to see sort of over time what Google does around that, because obviously ads are one of their biggest revenue streams. So it's not ideal that they sit below the fold, but who knows? We'll see what happens. But at the minute, this is what it looks like. So essentially, I just typed in a question about what is an AI overview, which is a very hard word to say. And what it's done is it's given me an answer, and then it's also actually given me more of a detailed explanation. And you can see here that it's broken it out with little subheadings and has included links throughout. So if you're more interested in how they're generated, or maybe you want to know about availability, there's a specific link that you can click, and it'll give you an article where it's sourced this information from. And then you can see the articles listed there on the right hand side, which is good. So it's definitely a lot more sophisticated than what it was when it started. I think it was May last year that it was released, and then it came to the UK and Europe in August, and it has definitely changed a lot since then. There has been a few sort of hiccups at the beginning. These screenshots were taken I think when it was first released in May, and people were typing in really ridiculous things or asking the AI overview really stupid questions essentially, but their answers are a bit shocking. So somebody has asked how many rocks should they eat, and AI overview has suggested they eat one per day, and hide it in peanut butter and ice cream so it tastes nicer, which is mental. And then smoking while pregnant, a doctor apparently recommends 2 to 3 cigarettes per day when you're pregnant, which isn't great advice. And then how long ago was 1919, and the AI overview said it was 20 years ago. So these are really extreme examples, and but it just kind of goes to show how sophisticated the algorithm has become in comparison to my previous slide. But this was obviously a bit of a disaster for Google. You can't be citing doctors and geologists and these recommendations that people may take seriously or literally. So it's not great. So obviously they had to do something drastic to change that, which they have, and it's becoming more intelligent day after day, which is really apparent. So how do AI overviews affect SEO? The rise of zero-click searches has been huge. It's something that's always kind of been there. When you think of the people also asked boxes, those little question boxes, a lot of people are now sort of finding the information they need directly on the search results page, and then they no longer need to click on a website. Now it's great from an authoritative point of view, and standing out as somebody who knows what they're doing and a trustworthy source, but obviously it's not ideal as a website owner, a business owner who is looking to get that traffic on the site. So that's probably the most immediate impact that we'll see, is essentially click-through rates decreasing for websites. And it definitely, AI overviews populate more when it comes to those more informative search queries, as opposed to shopping. But regardless, I think that's definitely something that we're going to continue to see. And there was a really interesting study done by the Growth Memo, and they analysed how AI overviews affect organic traffic. So they examined about 1,600 non-branded keywords and compared the Search Console data before and after the AIO implementation. And they found essentially that there was a reduction of around 9%, just under 9% in clicks for URLs that were included in AI overviews versus how they used to appear before in the normal search, which probably isn't overly surprising. But that is definitely probably the main way that at the minute that the AIOs are going to impact on your SEO. So how to measure the impact AI overviews are having on your website and your business. As marketers, we're always going to want to know what the impact's going to be and how we can sort of make it better or improve it, I guess. So these are just a few things to kind of keep an eye out for when you're looking at how AI overviews are going to impact your website and your traffic. So first thing you want to look at is your website conversion rate. So essentially the primary goal of a website is to attract and convert a visitor into a customer or a high intent lead. If they don't purchase something, are they signing up to a newsletter? Are you able to gather that first party data, which is so valuable? And that is essentially what your website is for. So the AIOs mainly affect informational searches at the beginning of a buyer's journey. How do I do this? What's this? Etc. As opposed to the shopping experience or the end experience, if you're B2C, B2B. So the impact on later stages of the buyer journey further down the funnel shouldn't really be impacted too much. These AI overviews kind of appear more at the beginning of a user journey. So it shouldn't be, the impact shouldn't be too great, when it comes to actually converting. Tracking website conversion rates essentially is crucial for assessing AI's impact on capturing high intent buyers. So it's really important just to measure your conversion rates sort of before and after the AIO implementation to see what is the knock-on effect and what you can do to sort of come back from that. Google Search Console Insights is also really, really valuable. You'll be able to analyze the impact of AI overviews on your organic search traffic through this. So what you want to do is you want to focus on the changes in impressions, in clicks, and in click-through rates for keywords that are featured in the AIOs. And then you want to compare those metrics and their performance before and after AIO was implemented to identify any trends and sort of come up with a strategy around if there are any dips, how you can sort of come back from that. It's also really important to remember that it's all about quality over quantity. So I know AI overviews can seem a bit daunting and a little bit scary, but actually the traffic that they are going to capture is probably more likely going to be really high quality traffic. So the users who are clicking on from an AI overview search, if you like, are actually probably going to be a lot more interested in your offering. And there's definitely, I think, this shift from just getting loads and loads of traffic on your site to actually getting good quality traffic that are, users that are going to, complete a conversion, stay on your site, shop around, things like that. And you can sort of capture that data. So some of the benefits that comes with AIOs is potentially higher engagement rates, increased time on site and improved conversion potential. So it's not all doom and gloom. I think AI overviews, and we'll be able to sort of see this more as time goes on, but I think it will weed out the sort of people who are just kind of clicking on your site because they see it, as opposed to the people who have typed in something, find an answer, want a bit more detail on that, and therefore have come to your site to get that. And there's definitely going to be new opportunities that come through AI. I think we'll see that as time goes on. New traffic opportunities. It's not all about reducing traffic, but generating new opportunities within that traffic because it's going to be a lot better, a lot more higher quality, ideally. The embedded links, so the links within generated AI generated overviews offer an opportunity for more targeted traffic to your website. And then nuanced or complex queries will tend to actually drive more users to your website for a bit more information. So, a sentence or two from AI overviews may not be enough. Your website has appeared as a link and that user may think this person must know a bit more about that. I'm going to go on and have a bit of a deep dive, have more of a look. And then even from a brand awareness point of view, it means that when a user maybe doesn't need your product right away or your service, but will have you sort of at front of mind when they are ready to convert, because they'll think they seem to know what they were talking about. I trust them. I'm going to go back to them. This kind of feeds into my next point, authoritative sources. Users seek authoritative websites for in-depth knowledge beyond AI overview summaries. AI overview summaries are great for like a quick burst of information, answer my question quickly, great, I can move on. But they will always want a website they can trust, a source that's authoritative and sort of knows what they're talking about. So that EAT is still very much a really big component here. And then the compounding effect of website content, this kind of, again, it's a nice little segue. So creating informational content will always remain crucial in the AI era. and informational content will enhance the visibility for those more commercial and high intent keywords, which probably are going to be less affected by AI, as mentioned before, because it's more around that brand awareness piece than probably people looking to convert there and then, if that makes sense. It helps to build overall domain authority and improving search rankings for all pages, and it provides context and depth that supports commercial pages. And again, consistent quality content creation has a powerful effect on SEO. That's always going to be really, really crucial. AI overview or not, content is king, and I think will just remain that way, especially in this AI era. So how do you optimize your content for AI overviews? I wanted to show you this graph because I thought it was really interesting. So when we go back to sort of my first couple of slides, when we saw the disasters that AI overview originally was and just how much it's growing and how much more sophisticated it has become, there is a massive increase actually in AI answering more complex searches. It's up by 100%, and 25% of those searches have an 8+ word search query that will trigger an AIO. So again, this really shows that Google has become a lot more confident in its AI's ability to provide really accurate and comprehensive answers for its user, because at the end of the day, Google's all about pleasing the user. It's the user is essentially Google's customer. So these two graphs just sort of show a bit of representation of how AIOs have grown. You can see the one on the left shows the number of keywords that AIOs are showing for, and then you can see on the right hand side how that number has also increased, and how percentage of keywords that Google has been using with an AIO. So since September, the AIO presence has doubled for all search queries with multiple keywords. So again, it just shows how much better it has become at answering those more complicated, longer questions. So content is king. This is really important to remember when you're optimizing your content for SEO, or you're optimizing your content for AIOs, I should say. But it's becoming, Google's AI is becoming increasingly sophisticated in understanding search intent and context. So content must precisely match the user's intent and specific nature of their query. So again, that informational search, the informatives, the how-tos, how do I do this, what's this, etc., etc. Google's AI is becoming a lot better at answering those questions. So you need to think of the content that your users are searching for and the questions that they have, and make sure that you have an answer for that question. Authority and trust matter. AIO will always favour more established and accredited sources, particularly in sensitive areas like health. So 72% of AIO answers have come from established medical research centres. So if you think back to the slide at the beginning, the geologists and the doctors and things like that, now they've become so much more careful around answering those sort of sensitive questions or sensitive topics, and will cite an accredited source for that, just again to build that trust, to build that authority, and to sort of prove to the user that they're not messing around, but they're serious, and they will be able to sort of assist you when you need them. And then content modality matters. So the type of content cited by AIO varies based on the search content, the search context, I should say. So for example, YouTube tutorials are great for how-to types of content and those guides and things like that, some more practical content, while text-based articles are still preferred for health and finance queries. So it's really important that you think about the content that your user likes to consume. Do they like tutorial videos? Do they like, PDF documents, those types of things? And you need to match that type of content to your user. Continuous monitoring is also essential. So AIO citation patterns are shifting rapidly. This is not a surprise to anyone. So it's really important that you monitor and identify opportunities and adjust content strategies accordingly. So just always keep an eye on what's going on and what changes are happening so that you don't miss out. So what actions can we take? So partner with established authorities in your sector, really important. Again, EEAT, always think of that. Still really, really important. Continuously analyze and adapt to changing AIO patterns. Again, just keep an eye on what's happening, and if there are big shifts, it's just really important to adapt to those changes. And then tailor your content format to align with your user preferences. So again, do your users prefer videos? Do they prefer text-based? That type of thing. And it probably varies based on the industry that you're in. But the rise of AIOs require us to focus on the shift towards creating high quality content, authoritative and contextually relevant content. It really does come down kind of back to the SEO principles that we've all probably know and love so well, but content is king essentially, and you just need to be able to demonstrate your EEAT as best you can. It's not enough to rely on your brand. You need to understand the user search intent and match the content to the format the user prefers, and that's paramount for success in the evolving search landscape. So it's all about the quality of your content and presenting it in a way that your users like to consume their content. Essentially, it's really, really important. So I wanted to just include a little bit around Google's guidance on AI generated content. This doesn't just apply to AIO, it kind of applies sort of on your website as well. I think it's really important to remember this when you are creating new content. So Google's March 2025 core update penalised websites heavily relying on AI generated content due to its frequent failure to meet quality standards, which prioritises human written content with expertise, authoritativeness and trustworthiness. So there was these are some of the points that Google picked up on. So the lack of experience. So Google will always value first-hand experience, which AI lacks. Human authorship. AI content will obviously struggle to rank on features like Google News and perspectives, which prioritize human authors. And author expertise. So Google requires author credentials, which AI cannot provide. And responsible use. AI is useful, but always will need human expertise for quality content that meets Google standards. And then EEAT is crucial. I know I've sort of said this throughout, but content should demonstrate your expertise, your experience, your authoritativeness, and your trustworthiness. It is key for success, especially in this AI era. And using AI as a tool. So again, AI can aid content creation, but it shouldn't be used to manipulate search rankings. And spam fighting continues. So Google will continue to penalise AI generated spam. So that's more around content on your site being, just thrown up, not checked, things like that. It's always going to prioritize the more EEAT content over sort of just general AI generated content. Transparency matters. So disclosure AI usage and content creation. Google isn't saying that, if you use any type of AI generated content on your site, you're done for. It's just more about sort of acknowledging that you've used it. Maybe there's a paragraph where there's some, images, whatever it may be that you've used AI to create, and it's just a simple note of saying this is generated by AI or whatever it may be. Human authorship. So accurate author bylines are important. If you have a LinkedIn account, if you have any sort of credit qualifications that would be relevant within your industry to sort of back up what you're saying, absolutely include them. And then user value. Prioritize creating valuable content for users. Mentioned before, users are always going to be Google's number one priority. So if you're creating good content for your users, you're by default creating good content for Google as well. So the key takeaways, AI overviews may lead to fewer overall clicks, but those who do click are likely to be more engaged. AI overviews primarily affect informational searches with less impact on the later stage high intent buyer journeys. Embedded links within AI overviews can drive targeted traffic to your site, and creating high quality informational content is still essential for SEO and therefore AIOs as well. But that is it from me. If you do have any questions about anything I've spoken about, feel free to drop me an email at Anna@GlowMetrics. And we are quite active on our socials with updates within the world of marketing and analytics. So definitely feel free to give us a follow. But yeah, thank you so much.